Hello and welcome to the 2022 annual meeting of the Orange County Taxpayers Association. My name is Trevor O'Neill and I'm honored to serve as the chairman of the OCTax Board of Directors. As the Orange County Taxpayers Association enters its 36th year, we continue our commitment to ensure that taxes and tax-supported programs are fair, understandable, cost-effective, and good for the economy. As always, our focus for 2022 will be on preserving and protecting Proposition 13. We were able to defeat an attack on this historic taxpayer protection measure during the 2020 election, but unfortunately, there is yet another proposition out on the street gathering signatures to try yet again to remove protections from California's taxpayers during the upcoming 2022 election. Be assured that OCTax will make defeating this measure a priority. We're looking forward to meeting in person in the very near future, but until that time, we hope you will enjoy our 2022 Mayor's Panel with Huntington Beach Mayor Barbara Delgleize and Garden Grove Mayor Steve Jones. I'm pleased to call the Orange County Taxpayers Association 2022 annual meeting to order.
Thank you, Chairman O'Neill. I'm Carolyn Cavecci, President and CEO of the Orange County Taxpayers Association, and welcome to OCTax's annual meeting and Mayor's Panel for 2022. Now, elections for our Board of Directors coincide with this annual meeting, and we'll be announcing the results of that election over the next few days. Now, we are so pleased to have with us Mayor Barbara Delgleize from the City of Huntington Beach and Garden Grove Mayor Steve Jones. Now, I'm not supposed to have favorites. First, welcome to you both. And I'm not supposed to have favorites, but candidly, you two are probably two of my favorite elected officials because I love watching what you've done in your individual cities. Very different cities, but a lot of the same issues. And Barbara, I kind of want to start with you because you weren't supposed to be mayor this year. This is your last year in office.
It is.
The council kind of needed someone with a little bit of leadership experience last year and tapped you for the job, right?
Yes, we had a little bit of a change on council, and we had recently had an election, and we had 3 new council members. And I must say that it had a little different feel to it than it did maybe last time. But you know what? Huntington Beach is very resourceful.
Yes.
And I generally am myself, thank goodness. And we're doing fine. We've got so many great things in the pipeline that I'm very proud about.
And you have a lot going on. Your city changes. Your city manager moved to another city.
Correct. And right now we have an interim, Sean Joyce. He's excellent. He's been working with us very well. We just had our strategic plan meeting last week, and it was very uplifting, and it gave us an opportunity to, I think, not only pat the staff on the back, but us as council. We really did a lot in 2021.
That's good. Well, Steve, you've been directly elected mayor now you're finishing your 6th year, and you have 1 more term to go. And you were on council for that a couple of years beforehand? Yeah. Now, you're a homegrown Garden Grove boy. Do I have that right?
I am. Born and raised Garden Grove through and through.
And you stayed in Garden Grove all these years?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what's going on in Garden Grove right now. Any major plans for this year? You finishing up anything? Any plans for, because I'm assuming you'll be reelected. You're very popular in Garden Grove. So any plans for your last term?
For starters, I just have to share the sentiment that I just absolutely adore both of you as well.
Thank you.
And across the range of electeds that you meet and interact with over the years, the two of you are so pure in your focus on public service, and I admire and appreciate that, and I consider both of you mentors as well as friends.
Thank you.
Yeah, lots going on in Garden Grove. We're coming out of the cloud of the pandemic, although it's not gone, and it's something we'll have to live with and deal with, and in the future. But at least things are bouncing back, and we've got big plans. It's cool seeing old plans come back to life. We've got another Open Streets event coming up in April. That's exciting. We had done several of them before. All things Reimagine Garden Grove are back in full effect. Everything from economic development to just focus on all of the aspects of placemaking that make a city desirable. Art and music and food, and a little emphasis on technology, and all encompassed by an underlying theme of kindness and compassion. I think those are kind of our key principles of reimagining Garden Grove, and not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, but repositioning where we want to go in the future as a city.
So COVID, how badly did that hit your budget?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it hit all of us pretty bad, right? Completely unexpected, out of the blue. We all of a sudden are, you know, in front of cameras and had to act like we're experts on something that we still know very little about. And we just dealt with it, right? So I think we did a good job of switching gears. You know, our economic development department that was always focused on hotel deals and development and projects shifted its emphasis to support small business in a much needed time where small businesses were struggling, still are to some extent. So we adapted and we were very resilient, and the shining light underneath all of that was just, we saw that kindness and compassion in Garden Grove come through, people helping people, people helping seniors, people helping people who were sick, and helping small businesses survive, supporting local businesses, all those kind of positive sides of it. And I just tried to stay focused on that. And I think as a city, we did a pretty good job.
That's good. What about you, Garden Grove and Huntington Beach? Budget hit? I know the CARES Act really kind of, and some of the money kind of came in and helped cities a lot.
It definitely did. And it definitely did in our city because I think where we were fortunate is we did have a strong Visit Huntington Beach, and it did go off some, but you know, I think people, when they could, still got away. And so we weren't hit maybe as hard as the Anaheim was. But I will say there was a couple of real bright spots. We closed Main Street and had the restaurants moving like many cities did. And for some of the restaurants, it really was a home run.
Yes.
They were doing better than they ever had. And then we were able to help some of our businesses that we really were struggling. And the one thing I think that really sticks in my mind, well, maybe two things, it would be we fed over or served over 100,000 meals initially, and that was seniors at home, Meals on Wheels, people in our community that needed a little extra help. And then the other thing was how well our staff came together. We were one of the first cities that did the digital planning department, you know, with our plans coming in. I was so delighted about that because every place was closed, you know, and it was hard to see people to see what they were doing.
Right.
But I've got to say, overall, the other thing that we looked into, and it didn't happen right at COVID, but we did invest in pension obligation bonds because we looked at what we had coming our way. I know it's not for everyone, and I think this was one of those situations where it was a perfect storm. The interest rates were low, the amount that we were going to get, and Oliver Chi was the manager at the time, and Dale, our finance director, really came up with a plan where we're ahead now, and what is it? Persia's doing better, but so are we. And so we were able to refinance that debt at 2.9% versus 7%, and it's helped us quite a bit.
Good. You know, I noticed it too on social media. You know, here in Orange, where I live, you know, we have a lot of those neighborhood pages on Facebook and things. And it was really good to see the shop local, eat local.
Yes.
I mean, it was really. I mean, I'm an eat local person. I don't have a Costco card because we don't have a Costco in Orange.
I see. Well, we have one in Huntington. You're welcome to come anytime.
That's how like local I shop local I
Good
am.
for you.
Yeah.
So, and you both saw that. You mentioned it. Did you both see that this push then? I know you're both tourist destinations, but you mentioned it. So your small and local businesses, you saw the push as well there.
We did. We really did. And some of them had to raise their hand a few times because you want to get everyone if you could. I just thought it was remarkable how quickly everything got set up. I mean, you know, it happened, like you said, Steve, it happened so fast. We weren't, I mean, who's prepared for that, right?
Right.
None of us really, I think, had been through that, but I cannot say enough. Our fire department, you know, they were doing vaccinations. There was just so much collaboration, and I love that. I love collaboration. It's a fun way to do business.
Did you guys go to virtual council meetings?
Yes, we did.
Did you?
We definitely did.
So I never had to do that. Interesting experience, or you guys just hit the ground and it was okay?
You know, I'm personally on the side of I like to embrace the new technology.
Yeah.
I love the Zoom meetings. I love the Teams meetings. I love the just the different format of going virtual. staying off the freeways, we're not polluting the environment,
Right.
we're doing all
Right.
these things. And in my opinion, you can accomplish the same amount of business, in fact, maybe even more streamlined in a virtual format.
Right.
So I like it. We're back to virtual now as a result of kind of the recent
Right.
spikes, and I don't know how much longer that'll last, but I know there's differing opinions, and some people are like, oh, you can't do it unless you're in person and you need that personal touch. And I get that to some extent.
Yeah.
But boy, you can accomplish most things virtually that you could before, and that allows me to pack 20 meetings into a day instead of
Yes.
12 nowadays, right? So
Mayor Steve is so right. I mean, I couldn't believe how many sometimes the meetings would go like that.
Yeah.
But you are right. I think the technology was really a lifesaver often. And I think as council and as residents, we all had to kind of figure out, well, how are we going to do
Right.
this? And so I would agree. I thought I wish I was in the plastic business. So man, those dividers were
Yeah.
so great. I wish I would have invented
Right.
or
those.
hand sanitizer.
Yes, that too.
You know,
Dang
and
it.
I think a lot of that is here to stay. I don't think you're going to see those
No.
plastic dividers come down from grocery
Not
stores
true.
or
No.
any of that. So I think it's just kind of a new reality for all of us. Well, I want to switch to a lighter topic, housing planning, which is not a lighter topic, but everyone's got their general plans. Cities have a huge requirement to provide housing, and I think a lot of your constituents don't understand what you guys are under. So Garden Grove, you know, you've got numbers you have to hit. How does that go? How is that going for you? I mean, because it's probably thousands of housing units.
It's been interesting. So the state of California, in its infinite wisdom to create more housing supply, and I don't mock that, because I do believe that we need to create more housing
Yes. I
supply,
agree.
and we do need that balance or whatever. But the extreme to which that occurred and the forcefulness of all the mandates by which that occurred have been traumatizing, I guess, locally.
That's a great word.
So
Yeah.
Garden Grove is expected to create 19,000
I
new
knew it was
housing
gonna-
units.
wow.
19,000 in under our regional housing needs assessment. There's a million new state laws like ADU laws and SB 9 lot split laws and you name it, Housing Accountability Act, and all these different things that are sort of forcing that upon cities in different ways. The way we've approached it, and I think this is clever, is as we were going through an update of our general plan and looking at zoning and how do we accommodate, like how do we achieve these numbers, or at least on paper be able to achieve these numbers. We tried to preserve the character of single-family traditional neighborhoods as best as we can, and we tried to push the density out onto our major arterials that could theoretically handle more traffic. So throughout the city, we did an exhaustive, probably a year and a half long effort, which just recently got approved late last year, to update our general plan and accommodate our 19,000 RHNA number housing units. But they're mostly along, Garden Grove Boulevard, Harbor Boulevard, Western Avenue, different parts of town that can handle the traffic. And in addition to that, just naturally with the ADU laws, I think we have something like 1,400 ADU applications in the
Wow.
pipeline now. We've
That's
had a
a
lot of
lot.
them built, so that's disruptive, obviously, in neighborhoods. It serves a need. It's just a balancing act, right? Is
Yeah.
how do you accomplish that? But our focus as a city, and all of our smart people at City Hall really focused on how do we try and preserve the character of our traditional neighborhoods, and how do we also accommodate the density that we're required to achieve.
Interesting. I'm seeing a lot of the ADU going up, the units going up in my neighborhood as well. Now, Huntington Beach has an interesting history with housing, because your council years ago, maybe not too many years, but they really kind of said we don't want to put high density housing in certain areas, and the state didn't like that.
No, they really didn't. And I think Mayor Steve says a really important point. Housing is very important.
Right.
And what he said next is this: we're going to focus on protecting the single family residents and focus on building in those areas that are high traffic, wider boulevards, and can create maybe a little bit more dense housing. I thought the Beach Edinger corridor that we did was a successful plan. It focused on Edinger, it focused on Beach Boulevard. Bellaterra has been a big success.
Yeah.
The
It's a great
shopping
center.
center,
Huge
yeah,
It's a great
it
center.
really has, and this is how you have to think of it. It's right next to the freeway. you don't have to be, you don't really need a car, but because you do have transit there. However, if you do have a car, once you get home, you're it. You know, you can walk to movies, you can walk to the gym, and they have a lot of good restaurants.
Yeah.
A lot of good restaurants. So, yeah, that's been more challenging. And as Garden Grove, 19,000, we're at 13,500, and we feel as if it's 19.
Yeah.
Because for the same
Might as
reason.
well be.
Yeah, it might as well be because it's so high. And yet, I do believe, again, what Steve said about focusing it on the arterials that are not impacting our single-family homes. Because one of the things that we do very well in Huntington Beach, we have amazing parks. We have 78 parks. The number changes depending on who you're talking to, but we have a lot. And our parks are spectacular. And now, especially now that we've gone through COVID, I think residents have realized, wow, these are very special and we need to take care of them. And that costs money.
Yeah.
And if you don't have building fees coming into your city or development fees, then they don't go to your park fund, and it can get very challenging.
Yeah, I don't think the residents in our cities, I don't think they understand the numbers that we have to hit, and so I think you have a lot of council members across the county politically who just get nervous. They don't want to approve, and they don't want to approve, and you know, everybody kind of likes their neighborhoods the way they are. I agree with you, Mayor Jones. That's how we approached it in Orange for many years. You know, preserve and protect the single-family neighborhoods and upzone in areas that can handle it, close to freeways and all of that's the way. And that's the way it needs to get done. Hopefully, now the problem is, are you seeing? You said you had a lot of ADUs, but the development world, and I should have told you I was going to ask you this question, but I'm just wondering, are you seeing plans coming in? Because I know a lot of the builders, I mean, they're just getting, just hit hard with the up costs per door to build. Are you having developments still come through, though? Are you seeing it?
We are.
Yeah.
We are seeing, I don't think we have as many ADUs right now as Garden Grove does. But I would be curious, Mayor Jones, do you feel that the people who are building them, are they generally for family? Are you seeing that, or is it more of a rental?
Oh, my perception is that it's more investors and more for rental. It's more duplex style kind of rental thing.
The one thing I do love about it is we have seniors that are, aging very well.
Yes.
And they want to be near their children or their grandkids. And I see that as a real win-win. Because some of our seniors don't need to be in their big homes anymore.
Yes.
And so the ADU can really work. And I have a friend, he and his wife were thinking, well, gee, we'll give the house to the kids and we'll move in the ADU. So
that is on my pipeline to, I have a decent sized property. Do I build something in the back?
Yes.
And then try to lure my grandchildren back.
Your kids can stay somewhere else.
I just want the grandkids back. That's all. Okay, well, so another light topic. A couple of years ago, the homeless issue was huge, and both of your cities were hit hard. The river down at Huntington Beach, it was tough. So has COVID kind of overshadowed that in the news, and you're still fighting the issues? Or has there been some solutions, and has it kind of eased up for both of you?
I would say that the combination of all those factors has made it worse. So,
okay.
The homeless issues are very complicated, and the numbers have increased obviously since the Great Recession. We've seen just a huge spike in homelessness and younger homeless, and just a lot of different problems to deal with in that regard. But I think with the pandemic and all the business closures and that sort of thing, just created a whole new wave of kind of homeless activity within the places that are visible around town. So all of our residents are acutely aware of the presence of all the transients that are in public spaces these days, the crime issues associated with a lot of that population kind of living off the grid, and just the disruption there. And also just the needs of those folks to be served. I mean, it's bad. We're working on a lot of creative solutions, and we're very proactively doing things, but it's a drop in the bucket compared to what is needed.
Yeah.
I would like to say in Huntington Beach, and I don't know if this is because it happened later, the possibility of getting a shelter, but just like Mayor Jones, you know, homeless love to be by the resorts or
Yes.
the beach or the parks or whatever. So we were really definitely challenged, but I must say, I think, I know this is gonna maybe not make some happy, but Judge Carter really, in my opinion, changed the needs in a very quick way for our cities and for the homeless and the services that needed to be provided. And it's not something that can happen overnight. So I really would like to say a couple of things in Huntington Beach. We were trying to work with some different hospitals. We got the shelter, and then we're doing business with Mercy House, and we have had some terrific volunteers. Our homeless task force is every day. And then I think we got better with our public safety. You know, we have a team now too. But I want to tell you something that I'm very, very proud of, because we were the pilot program. And that is, I'm sure you've heard of the organization here in the county called Be Well OC.
Yes.
And that really came out of homelessness being so bad 5 or 6 years ago, that a lot of the powers to be here in the county saw the issue and went, whoa, we need to do something, and we need to do it now. And I was grateful to be a part of that, because I think it helped us in our city understand the issue. And out of the Be Well, they created a model, something like they had in Cahoots, Oregon, and that is they have a van, a hope van we call it, that goes into neighborhoods or just around the city to help people either homeless or in need. And as we know as mayors that mental health is a serious issue in the county, and sadly Orange County, as wealthy as it is, really has not had mental health services for its residents. It's been overlooked way too long. And so in a way, we're sort of doing a reset. Okay, how can we do it? Well, through Be Well OC, they have a facility now in Orange here.
Yes, it is,
And
right
it
up the
is-
street
that's-
from us.
that
Yes.
is,
Beautiful.
and it's
It's
beautiful.
amazing, yeah.
It is.
And the people are so committed.
Yes.
And so guess what? Now we have the Be Well van, and Huntington Beach was the pilot program.
Okay. Yeah.
And so now what happens is when, let's say, we run into somebody that needs assistance, the van actually can take them to the campus in Orange
That's great.
and have services right away.
That's great.
And what's great about it is it relieves our public safety, our police,
Right.
from having to be
Right.
there, because that's not what they do. They do, you know, crime and focus on, you know, what do you call it, the quality of life issues in our community. And I will tell you, not only am I proud, but we've averaged over 200 calls a month. Garden Grove is doing it now.
Yeah.
Newport Beach is doing it now. Irvine, and what delights me so much about that is, can you, and I can, but can you imagine Orange County with all its cities having a Be Well van?
Well, and I think that's the ticket. Is
Yeah.
every city has
Yep.
to do it, not just those
Yeah.
of
That's
us
right, but I
in
think there
Central
has
and
to be
Coastal.
somebody that has to show the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will say some of the leadership has been a little naive, thinking they don't have that issue.
Right.
But guess what? Just because it's here today doesn't mean it's not going to be over
Right.
here tomorrow.
So when you got elected, did it ever cross your mind that you'd be dealing with mental health issues as local
No,
elected
no.
officials?
Not at all.
No.
Yeah.
No, and I'll tell you, I have a dear friend who just has a son who had suffered from schizophrenia, and it was only because of knowing her, sometimes knowing the lack of, or what did work. The other thing is we have the small Huntington Beach Hospital, but they've helped our police department a lot.
great.
Because there's not a lot of services
No.
in the county, and I know Mary Jones and I almost had something together on a couple of different hospitals that we were going to do.
Yeah.
It didn't work out, but you know, as Steve said earlier, I appreciate Steve's compassion as well. Garden Grove is a great community, and I think we have worked really well together. Our city managers have been really in touch, and very committed city council members.
That's great. Yeah, it's and I know there's going to be another Be Well facility. I believe is getting built down in the Irvine area and county. So.
Yeah, and what's exciting about that really is, because I know you know where Second Harvest Food Bank
Yes.
is. It's really close to there. But what's amazing is they're going to really have long-term services, long-term training, healthcare. We have never had anything like that in the county.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty excited about it.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it is amazing. I think a lot of people run for local office for specific passion projects, and then you get in and it just is an all-encompassing, type of vocabulary that you have to learn.
Yes.
And issues that you have to do.
And acronyms.
Yeah, there's a lot of acronyms. I've forgotten them all, by the way. Well, you will be able to forget them. So
Well, that OCTax works pretty good.
yeah, that's pretty good. Oh my gosh. So let's talk a little bit about redistricting. We don't have to go into too much detail about it, but everything was just redone as it is every 10 years. So it's kind of fun. Well, I think it's fun, but I'm weird.
Yeah.
And we all know that.
We know that.
To see the scrambling of all the new people
Yeah.
running for state assembly and state senate. Everybody's moving around, even congressional districts.
Yes.
But the supervisorial districts, I think, have really taken a kind of a different turn. Now, you are both in the same soup district, and that hasn't occurred for quite a while.
You know, it really hasn't. I don't know how long
Right.
it's been, but this last 10 years, Huntington Beach was split.
Okay.
And so I think we're going to enjoy having
One.
be back to one, and we're going to enjoy working with Garden Grove again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that'll be good.
Yeah. As far as the county goes, though, do you think there's big issues between a coastal city and an inland city, or you think they're going to be okay? Whoever comes in, hopefully, is going to be able to handle all of your issues.
Well, that's a great question. I think initially there's some scrambling going on because some of the people who are been changed,
Yes.
they're no longer even in where they live.
Yes.
And that would be a little bizarre, I think, if you're in the office
Uh-huh.
and you've got to go to another town. But I've got to say, with Garden Grove, even though it's inland, we have a lot of the similar issues. I
Yeah.
think partly because of the age. I know you have senior aging in place, a lot of that going on, and they're also a tourist town now.
Right. Well, and you're both big cities. People don't realize
Yeah.
How big
how
Garden Grove.
big Garden Grove is, and candidly, how big Huntington Beach is.
Yes, yes.
So hopefully someone will be able to come in. Orange is now in District 2, so we have a little sliver of Garden Grove,
Oh, okay.
but we're now tied with Santa Ana, and which we hadn't been before. So it's just an interesting change, I think, across the board. And a lot of people I know are I think, over the next couple months. Neither one of you are planning to jump to an assembly seat, are you?
Not today.
Because there are a lot of people. It's fascinating to read who's all moving and who's jumping.
It
And
is.
the
I would
congressionals
agree.
will do the
I would
same as
agree.
well. So we'll keep an eye. And you're going to run for mayor again. You're not running for assembly, or
Yeah, no, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'm focused on Garden Grove.
Okay, good. I just have to say, I think being mayor is politically, in the realm of politics and elections, has to be probably one of the best jobs.
I would have to agree with you because I remember 5 years ago. You don't go to training to be a mayor. I think what it does do, though, is it really can tap into maybe what some of your best traits can be. And I love Huntington Beach.
Yeah.
I've lived there for 50
Yeah.
years. I don't have to work at that. That
Yeah.
just kind of comes out. I'm very proud of my city. I think we've done an awful lot of great things. And we have more to do because we're an older community. And I think we bring today that spirit of newness. We have new families coming in. And I don't know if this is true, but we have, in Huntington Beach, one of the largest senior communities just aging in place because they love living there. They don't
Right.
want to move, and I don't blame them. And we have tremendous senior services.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of positive things I'm sure that you feel about Garden Grove as well. But I think being a mayor is sort of like being a host or a hostess, and there's great pleasure in that.
Yeah.
Really, really.
Yeah.
Aside from the coastal aspect, because
Yeah.
the only beach we have is Beach Boulevard.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I
share
do
that,
think
right?
I do think we share a lot of similarities
Yeah.
with Huntington Beach. We're both very active and vibrant in programming, like our, open streets events and different,
Yes, yes.
your marathons are different things like that. Large cities, a lot of similar problems that we face and whatever. So I think it'll be cool, I guess, that we're
Yeah.
going to be in the same supervisorial
Yeah.
district and get to kind of share that bond. But it's going to be interesting with
In-
redistricting.
Yeah, you're a directly elected mayor, which
Yes.
is a little bit different because I kind of understand your role. You've been mayor for 6 years now. Kind of just along the lines of Barbara's passion. I mean, you really, and I understand because I feel that way about Orange, you really need to be passionate to be run for mayor, multiple terms. How did it feel for you when you became, if you can remember back, going from council to being mayor?
Sure.
And you had mentioned it's a passion. It's a huge feeling of responsibility.
It is,
I just
it
remember
is.
driving around town,
Yes.
feeling all of a sudden
Yes.
feeling
Oh my God.
really responsible for over
Why
100,
am I hyperventilating? You know,
over
you know.
140,000 people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how did you feel when you came?
I specifically recall at the time thinking, oh, I got this. It's going to be a natural transition. It's, it's not much different. And it was really like a jump condition. I mean,
Yes.
when I got thrown into it. So I've really enjoyed it. I've really learned a lot from it, but it's completely different to be a mayor than to be on city council. And it's been a wonderful experience just embracing that. It's busy, it's hectic, and the level of expectation is, is astounding. But it's been a blast.
Good. I'm so glad. Well, and you're both on OCTA as well, too, right? So we all have that in common. I was just reading, it looks like the M2, the measure M2, our half-cent sales tax here in Orange County, projections are up now a little bit.
They are.
So
Yeah.
that was, when I read that, I thought, woo, that's really good finally to see that turnaround.
I will tell you, as a realtor, charts are often,
Yeah.
up, or you like them kind of when they go like that, but the bus ridership was,
Yeah.
and it was like,
Yeah.
oh my. I mean, it
Yeah.
just fell off the cliff.
Right.
So we are coming back, and I really applaud OCTA's leadership, because I think they were really proactive in, making sure everybody was safe, and having, the cleaners and the
Yeah.
mask and things of that sort, just to create a sense of safety. And if you don't mind me sharing, right now we have a big new push for youth ride free,
Oh.
18 and under.
Okay.
And they've done an excellent job working with the local junior colleges. The students ride free.
Right.
So there's been some really
good.
clever ideas
good.
to work
Yeah.
with it.
And Amir Jones, you actually chair the transit committee?
he
Do
did.
I know?
Yeah.
Remember that? Okay, so
Yes.
you
Yeah.
chair the transit committee.
I was the chair of 2020, so I was like the
Yes.
pandemic chair. That was interesting.
That's why his hair is standing up like that. It's never laid down.
So as Mayor Delgleize said, the ridership's coming back a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me put a little color on that. So at pre-pandemic, there was about 130,000 riders a day on our buses in Orange County. During the stay-at-home lockdown, we dropped down to about 40,000, if I recall.
Wow.
We're back up to about 80 or 85,000
Okay.
now. And I don't know that we returned straight back to the 130.
Yeah.
I think some of it was, cyclical as a result of the pandemic, and I think some of it is structural, just in terms of kind of the long-term changes in bus ridership. So it's an interesting problem to tackle for an agency of how to address future
Right.
projections in a declining ridership.
Well, especially because I'm going to say, transit is not, I didn't mean to interrupt you, transit,
No.
it's a subsidized. People always realize what you put in the fare box isn't covering your ride.
You're
it's
absolutely
subsidized.
right. And we have another one coming, and I want to speak to it, and that is the streetcar.
Right.
Garden Grove and Santa Ana will be working together on that, and people may say, well, why would you do that for 4.5 miles? Well, talk about density. They don't realize how many people are along that corridor, one. But I think if we do it right, we could really reconnect the county like it once
Yes.
was in the 20s.
Yeah.
Because, for example, my community, his community does go into the middle of the county and almost, backs out. Huntington Beach is really off on its own, and so if it doesn't have some kind of a connector,
Right.
and I think we are all kind of anticipating the 2028 Olympics, and how will that make a difference in Orange County? It
Interesting.
will. And so, especially in Garden Grove, because I think if the streetcar works like we think it could, it'll go through Garden Grove, La Palma, some of the other little cities, and connect with Los Angeles. How cool would it be
Yeah.
able for you to go to LA just taking the streetcar?
Yeah.
I just think we have to do those kind of things to get people moved around, get them out of their cars. And driving a car is fabulous, but how fun is it when you're in traffic?
Yeah.
And another big project that the OCTA is working on is the the upgrading of the 405
I was going
freeway.
to actually ask about that.
Okay.
Largest project in the history
of California.
Yes, and not only just in the history of Orange County and the OCTA, but in the history of Orange County. And I will admit, I tend to be a Central Orange County person. I do that, but I have a very dear friend who lives in Huntington Beach, and we were doing some work together where I had to drive into Huntington Beach twice a week.
Oh, wow.
For a span of time, and I drove through Garden Grove, and then I cut off and went down Beach Boulevard to get there, and then coming home I did the swing around 405 to the 55 and up. So you go against traffic, right? But it was amazing to watch the process. And when I was on OCTA, we were just starting to envision what that would look like.
Thank goodness.
You guys are building it. It's huge.
So for perspective,
I
mean, it's a 19-mile stretch of freeway widening along the 405, basically from the 605 to the 55. Orange County is largely laid out in a grid, and the freeway diagonals through the county. So that means every single arterial that it crosses required a bridge to be demolished and traffic to be rerouted. And so just the logistics now of carrying on the construction that's in place, let alone Indian bones that were found and other disruptions that were not anticipated and things like that. It's been, it's been staggering, but hopefully we'll wrap it up and get through it and
so
get more
when
throughput.
Do we know when the anticipated, what year?
Next year.
Next year?
Towards the end of 20, if everything continues to go well. We just had a report on it yesterday, and Jeff Mills and Chris Buckley, their work that they do is just so good. It's just so, every month or every time they have a presentation, something exciting is open. They've already finished 8 bridges. So I think that's remarkable. And to think how quickly and fast the traffic still goes by. And they're working there all day. And in a way, I don't want to bring credit to it, but because there wasn't as much ridership in the car, they were able to get a lot of work done.
I was just about to say, because all of a sudden everything kind of plummeted as far as traffic when they probably sped up. But you talked about all those bridges that they're taking down. Most of that was, Fountain Valley, but a lot of that was Garden Grove. Not Garden Grove, I'm sorry, Huntington Beach. They were. So how did your residents, how did the city, how was that handled?
I really got to say that initially, at least from the meetings I went to, it was more Westminster and Fountain Valley because they had businesses right there. But I will say this, I think OCTA and their marketing outreach program has been, I don't know, what's the word that's better than phenomenal? And why I say that is, here's an example. We had public meetings, we'd have town hall meetings. Now we do them on Zoom, and they average 200 people a meeting. 200 people a meeting. And that is one of the benefits of getting good information out. They have a website, they have this, they have that, and because we serve that area, I had one the other day, there was an issue, and I knew exactly who to have the lady talk to. So I just think they've been very proactive with their community outreach, and it's really made a difference. Really made a difference.
That's good.
And I just want to circle back to something that you had asked both of us, the housing element, for example. I think, and we are doing it in Huntington Beach, and I'm sure in Garden Grove as well, but we are trying to get it out more into the community to help people understand what it is that we're doing, because we're not doing this on our own. It is state mandated. It is just state mandated, and I know a lot of the people are upset. They think that's what we're doing, and that's not really our choice.
I think having good city staff that understands the beauty of the town hall meeting and the beauty of and the desire to get out and interact. And I think that's what makes both of you such good public servants, is that you don't shy away from that. That's something, you love your community, you love your residents, you're invested in them. And I always say, when people ask me, I say, find someone to vote for who's passionate about their communities, and that there isn't political reasons for being that they love the communities and that they're passionate about it. So as we wrap up here, best to both of you in your year as
sure.
mayor
Thank
coming in. Anything specific you want to push for your cities coming up? Anything big coming up in your cities over the next year that you want to? I know I have to just say for Garden Grove, of course, I love your economic development team in Garden Grove. I love their economic development team in Garden Grove. They're really good. And I just love seeing all your new projects, and I just think, geez, there's another one, there's another one.
Yeah.
You had, where you had the shipping crates.
Yeah.
How is that project specifically going?
It's going good again now. It's been a tough story
It
because
must have been hard with
they
COVID.
literally opened about 4 or 5 months before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So all these small businesses took money out of their houses and went all in on their small business and opened up a business in the shipping container at Steelcraft. And a lot of them didn't make it, right? So there's some of the original cast. It's now full again, or predominantly full, and it's popping again. Right next door to City Hall, so we see it all the time. So it's good to see them kind of back to being vibrant, but it's a different cast of characters than it was just 2 years ago when they started, and it's unfortunate for the small business that did not make it as a result of when they. But it's really cool, and kind of right down the street on the other side of City Hall, we've got our Cottage Industries project coming in.
Yes,
Yep.
we both were. That
Yep.
looks really interesting.
Linda Sadeghi is working it. She's got a bunch of leases signed, and it's going to be uber cool once that opens as well, and that's coming this year. So we're excited about that.
Great. You've had a bunch of stuff on. Did you just start a race or something recently?
We had a marathon.
You had your
on
marathon.
Sunday,
Okay.
which is our Surf City Marathon.
Okay.
And there was a great turnout, and of course I got to blow the horn.
Yeah.
So I was really about 5 times. But something I am really excited about, and it's probably going to be pretty quiet initially. But because of the fact that we're always trying to track something, the U.S. Open we have, and the air show, and things like that. We have a possibility of really working with the Olympic Committee and having sites for some of the sports that are going to be taking place.
Cool.
And if we can bring it together, what will be is something left permanently. And that's one of the things I've always appreciated myself about the Olympics. It doesn't work out everywhere.
Right. Because
we know that they've gone into cities and the buildings are abandoned a few years later. I assure you, if this plan comes together, it'll be one of those sites like you'd want to come to Huntington Beach to maybe do skateboarding or something like that. What's it? BMX biking?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I got that right.
Yeah.
But so that's something that's, and I think along the other lines, just a lot of upgrades, broadband expansion, our downtown, we're looking at, permanently making the second block or having the second block be closed, sort of changing and upgrading the main street. So that's, and then of course, really this homeless issue, I don't see it going away anytime. So we really are, I guess, attacking it, I guess is the way I'd want to say, because we want our residents to feel okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for being here today, and thank you for not only your service to your individual cities, but to your leadership to all of Orange County as well. I want to take this opportunity to thank the OCTax Board of Directors for their trust in bringing me into this incredible organization as CEO and president back in 2012. Now, 10 years later, it is time for me to take a deep breath and start a new adventure. I'm retiring from OCTax at the end of this month, but I am looking forward to watching this important taxpayer and business-focused organization continue to keep taxes and tax-supported programs fair, understandable, cost-effective, and good for the economy. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Our 2022 annual meeting is adjourned.